The build's not dead. It's just not. It's not what it was in the slightest. But this would have been a lot quicker with the better amulet. That's all I gotta say. All right, it's finally dead. All right, what do we get? We got a bunch of stuff. We even got us a Starfall. It's whatever. So yeah, it is a little annoying trying to upgrade your glyphs because of the 70% chance, but let's see, upgrade fail. Okay, I died once, so we only get 3 chances. It's whatever, but let's take a look at some of the boards. Ideally, this would be burning. This is Enchantment Master. I was messing around with something. It's got a lot of non-physical, so that's super nice for Enlightenment. As you can see, like we get, 800, 900% non-physical. So when the Enlightenment's active, I'll get all this additive. But let's just take a look-see at the boards. So I think I showed it earlier, but yeah, this, there's a lot of max life. We actually have a lot of max life nodes. These non-physical nodes are pretty large. The booster makes them super big. It's great. Let's see. Enchantment Master is a really nice board now. It's got all this like flat DR, resistance, max life, armor. It's even got some attack speed now and some non-physical damage. Damage to elites, more non-physical. So like they've fixed the boards in that a lot of the throw stats are gone. And if we look at Frigid Fate, as you can see, like 12% DR vuln. We're getting a lot of vulnerable damage, a lot of DR vuln. There's some max life nodes over here with healing received. Non-physical, vulnerable damage, they're pretty large. And you get some decent value out of Unleash through the magic node boosters. Fundamental Release. So basically Frigid Fate and Fundamental Release are like must slot on every build. And the other two boards are basically a flex. But you can get 30% damage basically on everything for every build here. It comes with straight DR, some crit strike damage to burning enemies, DR burning, DR vuln, max life, vulnerable damage, non-physical damage. Get 54 dex, and then I have Icefall on this build right now. It's I should probably have Elemental Summoner because I'm running the pure spear, not really the hybrid, but I'm just kind of messing around with some stuff. But it's got cold damage now and vulnerable damage. It's got some lucky hit chance here. Some non-physical. Over here we see max life per 5 seconds, which is sort of a new meme stat. And what's nice is they've moved the DR chilled off to the side here, because that way we can ignore it. But I'm going to delete this board real quick. Just bear with me. All right, let's see. Let's start with Searing Heat. What does Searing Heat look like now? So the boards have been expanded quite a bit. It comes with crit strike damage, and then over here we have some fire damage. The noses are pretty big. There's some DR burning over here, and then here there's fire damage and crit strike damage. Over here we got max life per 5 seconds. We have our Searing Heat node, and then here, which is kind of cool, is they've added these plus maximum fire resistance nodes, so that's pretty awesome. All right, so now let's add, this is a really good board now, Burning Instinct. So if we start on Burning Instinct, your first initial idea is going to be, I want to slot it gets 74 dex. Your first initial idea is, I want to slot Destruction on this, but what turns out is if you can get a 54 or 59 or 64 dex board and put Destruction on, you're actually going to get more crit strike damage if you put a rare node booster on this board, because you're going to get a 275% bonus to this 60% total crit strike damage. So you'll get more value out of that, and it just makes it for pathing through easier. There's damage to burning over here. There's crit strike damage. The Burning Instinct node is now 90%, and you're only going to need 1350 intelligence to max it out. It's a little annoying that there's all this crit strike damage here on these boards, considering this is a burning board, but considering so many other builds, like every build applies burning, so it's a boon to every other build but a burning build because of all the crit strike damage. We still have our nice elite DR. We have a lot more flat armor nodes. There's still a ton of burning DR up here. And then there's more burning DR and healing received down here. This board is S tier. All right, let's move on to Icefall, which I already showed. Vuln, cold, yada, yada. Let's move on to Static Surge. Static Surge is actually a pretty solid board now. So all the mana nodes are gone. These are now damage to stunned enemies and resource cost reduction. So you can get some 8% resource cost reduction out of here. We have crit strike damage and lightning damage over here on these nodes. Static Surge is unchanged. If we go over here, we have lightning resistance and max lightning resistance, so that's pretty cool. I'll have to look again on Icefall, but I didn't see any +1 cold resistance. Max life, healing received. Over here, resist all elements, and max life. Let's just take a quick look at Icefall again. Maybe that was something they missed out on. But yeah, I'm just seeing DR chilled. Maybe they messed up and these are supposed to be +1 cold resist. That would be really nice. I'll mention it. Let's look at Ceaseless Conduit. Still, this board also gets 74 decks. As you can see, like they added little extra nodes in places to sort of help. But as you come in here, let's take a look at the rare nodes. So it's got crackling energy damage over here. Not my favorite. It's got lightning damage, which is good. We have crit strike chance. I think you can get a total of 7 crit strike chance, so that's okay. It's got lightning damage over here. We have plus resist to all elements. We have +1 maximum lightning resist. And yeah, that's about it. And crackling Ceaseless Conduit is still terrible. So I don't think I'll take this board on anybody. And last but not least is Elemental Summoner. Elemental Summoner can get a ton of intelligence, but there's one thing I want to point out. I'll do that after. It's Eliminator. We'll talk about it in a second. So it's got resist all elements. Over here, it's an impairment reduction and some dodge chance. That's whatever. It's got nice non-physical, and it also has these magic intelligence nodes. If we look over here, it's got conjuration damage, but this can get a solid amount of dex and a ton of intelligence. Elemental Summoner remains the same. If we come over here, we get attack speed, conj damage. This is the same, but these nodes have changed. They are no longer max mana. They are conjuration cooldown reduction, which is not terrible. So let's take a look at Eliminator. So I don't think I have mine leveled up, but mine is level 19. As you can see, even if let's just max this out. Let's just max this out and see how much stats we get for it being level 19. And as you can see, so they've lowered the grants, the bonus to the normal nodes. Basically, how it works now is at max, you're probably going to get 100 intelligence and then, a lesser amount to willpower, index, etc. This can be really still useful for hitting rare node Rex on the 4th and 5th board. So that's something to look into over something like Unleash or even something like Flame Feeder, because you can get a lot of additive damage out of it, and it still has that higher end damage to elites. So you're going to get 10% damage to elites, and then when this thing maxes out, you're probably looking at like 14.4 or something like that percent damage to elites. So the glyph's not dead, it's just not providing the insane 500 intelligence that it was providing in the past. You're looking at around 100 and then, I don't know, 30, 40 dex, etc., something like that. Yeah, so we times that by 5, looking at about 48 willpower, well, at least on this board. And then, yeah, looking at about 48 willpower, maybe 35 dex, so it's kind of low. All right, that's all I have for this. One thing we're not sure about, that's going to be a key insight to the next meta, is what's going to happen with Azurewrath and Frostburns. So regular Azurewrath, this lucky hit chance to deal 6,500 cold damage. The GA has an unsquished value of 6,500. The legendary has a squished value of 1,500. And basically, if these make it to live, it's the same thing with Frostburn. As you can see, these are 4,000. That's before we even start to factor in Greater Affix and Masterwork crits. Like, you could probably get this thing up to around 15,000, 16,000, and you could get each of these cold damages, up to 10, 11, whatever. They're insane on like something like Chain Lightning. because it has good lucky hit, and you're just basically using it to abuse these two. So if these unsquished values make it to live, Chain Lightning with Azurewrath and Frostburns, it's going to dominate the meta and be S tier, and that's what the season's looking like. But thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully I didn't have too much background noise on the mic. Haven't quite figured out how to get it to stop picking up my keyboard sounds, but we'll get there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm Lurking from Mobalytics. I'm excited for... Let's just take a look at the map. I'm excited for Season 6. I think Sorcerer... I think we got... You know, every class lost about 80-90% damage, and then even more on Lightning Spear because of the nerfs. But overall, the activities were pretty fun. I'm opting to not show any Dark Citadel footage. I didn't really run it that much, and I kind of want it to be a surprise. It's really not that hard. It's just a lot of like plate type mechanics, or like one person goes in the portal, one person stays out. Just kind of, it's really not that hard. It's going to be chill. Undercity was really fun. Nahantu as a whole is pretty. It's pretty. It's pretty dense. There's a lot of enemies. It was fun. The new Realm Walker activity, which he's over here, it's okay. I thought it was fun. But if you've ever played Destiny, it's basically a very slow payload walk. That they have featured in a lot of their missions, where you got to walk this payload to a certain spot, and he's really slow, and there's not too many enemies, and then you go into the dungeon, and it's a bit of a slog. I love the idea and the concept, and how the secondary dungeon actually plays is fine, but walking the Realm Walker itself, it's slow. I'm bored when I do it, even in T4, and the T4 bosses are a bit hard, especially Varshan. He's a little bit bugged right now, like his barrier is so hard to take down, you can't really crit it. But I can solo basically all of the T4 bosses, except for Varshan gives me trouble, and Beast in the Ice gives me trouble, because he teleports away and then is just an absolute annoyance. So I farm Varshan and Beast in the Ice in Tier 3, and I do every other boss in Tier 4. Alright guys, I'll catch ya. Have a good one.